Good morning and half a day, players. In my previous video, I talked about the greatest horror games in the world, Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3. So to keep the mood going, I decided to talk about a game that is heavily inspired by Team Silence's series, Lost in Vivo. Now, this game may look simple in design and may look like an ordinary low-budget horror game, but like this game, looks can be deceiving. Lost in Vivo was released on November 5th in 2008. It was developed by one man, Akuma. No, not that Akuma. Akuma Kira. The game was also published by Akuma Kira. It took him 2 years to complete the game as to provide more content post-release, like the Lost Tapes. Other games made by Kira are College Slam, Sin, Sentient Interstellar Necromantic, and The Undying Beast. One thing that many people don't know is I too want to one day develop my own games, and Lost in Vivo, being made by Kira, two musicians and game testers, have really inspired me to continue on my journey of game development, showing everybody that it is possible if the passion burns bright. Now let's see why you should play Lost in Vivo. The game starts with you walking your service dog to an unknown location, and moments later, the dog, which I have named Jarren in my playthrough, gets sucked into a sewage drum, and you, the player, goes down in an attempt to save your trusted companion. It's simple, yet very effective for two reasons. The first one being personal to me. You see, I love animals, especially dogs, whether they're purebred or not. So witnessing my fluffy friend being consumed into the sewage drainage has affected me psychologically. Seeing the fear in his eyes, you better believe I'm coming to Darren's aid. The opening scene alone has provided me with all the motivations I need to not only save Jarren, but to complete the game. The second reason why this motivation is very effective is because it reflects on the original Silent Hill games, the series that inspired Lost in Vivo. Harry Mason in Silent Hill was involved in a car crash with his daughter. When he regains consciousness, he finds that his daughter is now missing and starts looking for her. In Silent Hill 2, James Sunderland received a letter from his deceased wife telling him that she is in Silent Hill and will be waiting for him. James in turn travels to Silent Hill to investigate if his wife is really waiting for him. You see, the motivation is set early on to pump you up for the journey. It answers, what am I doing here? Why is this happening? Should I give a damn? One of the many reasons why the Silent Hill games made by Western developers bombed is because they failed to establish a solid motivation in the very beginning. Oh, I'm not done with you, Alex. You're gonna get your turn, boy, don't you worry. Speaking of foreshadowing, Lost in Vivo is chock full of them. My favorite one being in this room. Let me see if you can catch what's being foreshadowed here. Well, did you translate the message? This room is a homage to the book known as the Divine Comedy, or better known as Dante's Inferno. The oar with the name Jarren, yes, that's how you say it, represents the ferryman who ferries the souls of the damned across the river of Styx. The sound of water represents the river of Styx, obviously, and finally, the graffiti near the gaping hole mimics the warning placed in front of Hell's gates. Abandon, O hope, ye who enters here. It subtly tells you, the player, from this point on, you're on your own, and hell will not hold back with its torments. Us in Vivo reminds me of Silent Hill 2. One of the reasons I say this is because of the psychological horror included in the game. If you notice, the character you play as has a service dog, but you clearly can walk and you see perfectly, so the only thing we can assume is the protagonist is suffering from some kind of psychological disorder. The environment is further evidence to this claim. Our journey to find Jarren the service dog is also a journey to face our fears and overcome our challenges, just like James Sunderland in Silent Hill 2. Now, to show some of the psychological horror in the game, I'm gonna do something I usually don't do and spoil one of the many examples in Lost in Vivo. Okay, at some point in the game, an attack comes from behind. You turn and see a knife-wielding madman lounging at you. So instinctively, you strike him down to save your own skin. But as you examine the corpse more closely, you realize, where's the knife? Did you just simply imagine or assume he had a knife? This, bro, and many other examples in the game leads me to believe that Akuma Kira knows what he is doing and has done a great job with Lost in Vivo and simulate a psychological journey. Another great asset to Lost in Vivos are the unsettling monster designs, provoking fear with every encounter I have with them. I will only show you 3 types of monsters because I really believe you should experience Lost in Vivo. And lastly, let's talk soundtrack. Kira enlisted 2 talented musicians, Jarren Crist and Nolan Reese. Together they made a soundtrack that can easily rival the legend himself, Akira Yamaoka. Every soundtrack associated with Lost in Vivo reminds me of Silent Hill. The music you hear elicits mixed emotions, exactly like the work done by Mr. Yamaoka. For example, Nolan Reese's Broken makes me feel relaxed thanks to the guitar riffs, and at the same time draws out tension and foreboding fear thanks to the rising tempo of the drums and other instruments. Lost in Vivo has this atmosphere that every horror game should possess, from frightening visuals to effective psychological events in the game, causing us the player to second guess our actions. Being a horror fan, I have played many horror games that didn't capture the effects of dread and enjoyment like found in Lost in Vivo, so it's very refreshing to experience a game made by a game developer that understands what makes a horror game so memorable. There are areas in the game closed off but beckons the question, what lurks in the corner? Just adding more to the tension, right? This may seem like a small detail, but it's all about those small details that makes a big difference. One thing to note is that Lost in Vivo is a horror game about claustrophobia, and damn, that statement is true. Every part of the game features area that leaves you with barely enough room to operate. Even in open areas feels so small and shrinking. Don't get me started when enemies are in the same room. Lost in Vivo also has replayability, mostly in terms of multiple endings, new enemies, and different effects. Now, the only downside I witness with this game is that it's too fucking short. With a casual playthrough, you can beat the game in roughly 3 to 4 hours. Now, I understand why it's short. It was made by technically one man. And I only bring this up because the game is that great. The game is so immersive that when it's all done, you can't help but wanting more. The achievement difficulty is quite easy with only a total of 9 achievements. The achievement called The Bad Ending is the least acquired achievement with only 3.2%. So, in conclusion, if you suffer from Silent Hill type of horror withdrawal, then play Lost in Vivo. Holeponcher has masterfully created a horror game that induces fear from start to end, with the game messing with you constantly, creepy environments, to his understanding on what makes the soundtrack so effective. This and many more is why you should play Lost in Vivo. You can grab your copy of the game on Steam for only $10. So show some love to a man who is clearly very passionate in what he does. Thanks for watching, bros. And a big shout out to Holeponcher for providing info for my video. Thank you for everything. Also, do me a favor and keep doing what you're doing. I look forward to your future releases, Holeponcher. Okay, remember guys, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more games you should play. Okay? Next up, we have...
In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. It was here, on the slopes of Mount Doom, that the Dark Lord Sauron was defeated by a last alliance of men and elves. It is here that for 2,500 years the Rangers of Gondor stood watch, guarding against a nameless threat they had all but forgotten. And while the strength of Gondor faded, the power and malice of Sauron grew in darkness.